Folks, welcome back to a very special edition of Trainwreck tonight. I'm joined by REID for Avengers Endgame review. Tonight's episode of Trainwreck tonight, sponsored by 26 Shirts. You knew we had to pull some strings to get REID twice in 1 month, and that's what we had to do. We had to sell our soul. 26 Shirts, tonight's sponsor. We got Fantastic just launched, and I hear it's selling straight off the online shelves.
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah, it's a much more fun take because we do lots of sports stuff through 26 Shirts. So it's fun when we can just nerd out on some shirts for a while, which is what Fantastic is all about.
Nerding out, having a great time, Buffalo, it's all here at 26 Shirts. Check them out. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, 26shirts.com. They're getting it done. Speaking of getting it done, the ban is lifted on spoilers, Avengers Endgame. Del, you've seen it twice. Just broad strokes. What were your thoughts working out of the theater both times?
I thought it was great. It was a lot of fan service, but not in a way that was really obnoxious. You know, you see sometimes how a movie will do something that is kind of pandering to the fans. In a lot of ways, they did that with this movie, but there was no real pandering. It all served a purpose, and it all just felt so great. And I think it hit every note that I had to hit after watching the 21 previous movies. I love it so much.
The lead-up was unbelievable. So, you had all kinds of stuff going on in the first act. It really just felt like surprises were coming non-stop. The movie was kind of like a buffet. When I walked out, it was like I just digested so much, so many storylines every which way. The thing that really stuck with me was similar to Avengers 1, and it's a great term from Robbie Fox at Barstool. I hate to shout out Barstool, but sometimes when you get it, Avengers stuck the landing with this movie, I think. I think you couldn't have walked out being too upset about how everything went. We're going to get into the finalities and where the characters ended up. But, how could you really be that angry at a movie? It was a movie full of fan service, like you said.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, really. Stuck the landing. I think everything in this movie stuck the landing except maybe Black Widow.
Most definitely. Oh, my God. Too soon. So, Del, we had our first surprise when the movie began. The Avengers end up getting back together. A lot of people predicted Captain Marvel rescuing Tony Stark, who was stuck after leaving Titan with Nebula. They were playing a little flag football, having a great time. It was a great bonding scene, showing Tony Stark the human side of him and Nebula, as crazy as it was. So they get back to planet Earth. They get back to Earth, to Avengers HQ. Tony Stark, I lost the kid to Captain Riders. That had to cut you. You just knew that Tony was still eaten up about losing Spider-Man. But with that said, the Avengers come up with a plan. Tony Stark kind of falls ill. He's looked more feeble than, Uncle or Grandpa Joe in the beginning of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What were you thinking was going to go in the movie here? Because there were a lot of theories going in. Oh, is the Time Stone still in play? How are they going to get Thanos? They're going to go after Thanos early. Nobody saw what happened in the first 30 minutes coming.
Yeah, it really was a surprise for them for Thor to just go for the head, which is such a great line. I don't know about you, but when I saw it, the theater blew up when he said that.
You see them go after Thanos, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to get crushed by Thanos, and they're going to have to spend the rest of the movie, maybe even if it involves time travel, getting back to the point where they can fight him again. Instead, there's no defenses, and they had an amazing plan to wrap up Thanos. I blinked, and all of a sudden you had the Hulkbuster armor, wrapped around him. EGC was completely crushed. And next thing you know, he got Ned Stark, as they say on the streets.
Yeah, it was really something else. I did not expect him to just take him down so quickly, but once he started explaining, oh yeah, I almost died, trying to destroy the stones and everything. I thought it was cool how, I think, if I remember correctly, the Hulkbuster armor came up through the floor.
I could have sworn it came up like a Diglett from Pokemon, Doug Trio. So with that said, that happens, and, they kill Thanos, but they're unable to bring back everybody. The Infinity Stones, he used them to destroy them. And we see that, really, the Avengers lose again. They aren't able to bring anybody, and the world falls into that post-apocalyptic fog. You see New York, boats in the harbor. Whales are back because there's just such a low population of, fishermen and everything like that. The crazy thing was, I think, that you saw every Avenger react differently to that finality of not being able to bring them back and losing. You saw Black Widow. She buried herself in her work. She was constantly, she even had her ballet shoes in the foreground of the shot, so she was, getting back to her roots there. You had Ronan, Hawkeye, who just decides to go full murderous rampage on everybody. You had Captain America, who tries to convince everyone that it's okay. He's trying to help others just like he's always done throughout his life. But that's not even giving him that sense of fulfillment. And then you see the others obviously trying to do their part. But everyone had a reaction to this very traumatic experience that the Avengers aren't used to experiencing.
Yeah, it's such great storytelling too. They've done. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a really big fan of character development. That's one thing in terms of like reading in books, and they allow you to get so much more into the characters, and so it's not just like these 2D, actors on the screen who are just going through the motions.
That was, I think that was the biggest complaint from the early part of the MCU was that the villains were a little bit one-dimensional, specifically Mickey Rourke's in Iron Man 2 was kind of not like very much there, and obviously Malekith in Thor Dark World. A lot of people say it was forgettable. I love Dark World. I mean, I think we're both Thor marks, right? Isn't he our favorite Avenger?
Yeah, he was my favorite last time we did this. I might have somebody.
Okay, so we're going along the movie. He's also the strongest Avenger. On that, there's no debate. But our heroes get together and they realize, with the help of Scott Lang, who, thanks to the 1 in 14 million mouse on the thing, is unleashed back from the quantum realm, that they can go through time to get back the time stones. I mean, the time heist. Where did you fall on that whole section of the movie?
I thought it was great because while they were able to bring more depth to Scott's character, just as soon as he comes out of the van and he's walking through San Francisco, like that's not really something you usually see from Ant-Man, with that kind of like level of drama and everything. But for them to work in like some of his goofy, characteristics and something like time heist, because the first two Ant-Man movies, that's really what they are, they're heist films.
They are heist films indeed.
They paid homage to him. And just every character in this movie, I felt like really got their due, and they were fleshed out. They certainly had time, 3 hours, but they all got fleshed out, and I thought they were all well served.
Lots of room to run, and while we have this room to run, let's take a quick break to talk about that 3-hour runtime. In either movie, did you have to use the bathroom?
The first time I saw it, I didn't drink anything from like 10
Me neither, and I had an icy in the theater that I did not drink until an hour in.
Smart. And then that morning, I had to take my medicine. I took had a small glass of water, and that was it. Man, wouldn't you know though, being 43 sucks. 2 hours in, and the last hour of the movie, I was hanging in there. But
Future generations are just going to carry around something to pee in. Like, I mean, think about how much more convenient that would be of never going to the bathroom. Like, telling people you have to go to the bathroom, that's going to be a thing in like 100 years. You used to tell people you were going to the bathroom. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's absurd. So speaking of room to run, go to the bathroom, we're back in the movie, and we're back in the time heist. I mean, we've seen it with the MCU. Humor is essential. And we were talking about it before the show. The first couple movies were serious. They would have Tony Stark with their funny comments, or Cap on your left in, like, Winter Soldier was a recurring joke. But they weren't really overly funny or overly, trying. Once they started Guardians of the Galaxy, though, where you saw characters who just were not serious superheroes. Your Star-Lords and your dance, competition to save the world. It showed, I think, the MCU creators and directors that it's okay to be overly silly if at the end of the day you have believable characters who are, at the end of the day, have fulfilling missions.
Yeah, I think that some of the characters really work well in that space, especially like Star-Lord and Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, you got...
and now Thor. I mean,
Drax. Everyone plays their own thing. Like, Gamora's is dry humor. She's about to kill Quill when he goes in for a smooch. That's the funny thing. Everyone is funny in their own different way. Spider-Man, his innocence. He didn't tell any jokes. He was just we're using our superhero names. That was the funniest line from
Do you remember that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Oh yeah, of course. The kid's seen more movies, as they say. So with that said, time heist, and you're about halfway through the movie at this point. I mean, they're calling it Hot Tub Time Machine. They're doing all those things.
Die Hard, another travel film.
Apparently they met with a multitude of scientists, and the scientists are like, oh, by the way, the common Hollywood time machine thing where if you affect something in the past, it'll affect the future is completely wrong. They literally told the people in Avengers that, okay, let's take advantage of that. I don't have the exact quote, but when Stark shows up after they turn Lang into a baby, he cites the theory or whatever. And real quick on Lang, just like Hawkeye was a low-key main character in Ultron, Ant-Man was a main character in Endgame for sure. He played a humongous role from beginning to end.
Yeah, I thought it was so great. And even when that first trailer dropped, did you see him in the security camera?
I guess we should have known that he was going to be a big part.
Yeah, it was great. And Ant-Man is one of my favorite franchises in the MCU. So it was really cool. I think I said this a few moments ago. Just to see how well served that character was, and for him to play a part. And not just as a comedic foil, but he played a big part in how they were able to actually pull this off.
when you look at, I mean, and before we get to the end and the final battles and everything like that, if you look at the stat sheet of this movie, no character did not get the ball for like a little bit of period of time and got some shine. Everyone got an opportunity to show up, and they took advantage. So the time heist is underway, and things are not going perfectly. I mean, they're getting some of the Infinity Stones, but when they go to New York City in 2012 to get them, things go awry. Tony gets knocked into by Loki, who escapes. So welcome to your Disney Plus special with Loki. So that's awesome. I mean, you're not Hiddleston is amazing as Loki. So watching him gallivant around the universe as kind of a fugitive or the galaxy is going to be amazing. So things don't go exactly to plan. They have to go further back in time to kind of band-aid, that boo-boo. By the way, Hulk pretending to like fit in as fake Hulk. What was better, Captain America fighting Captain America or Hulk pretending to be Hulk?
Oh, I think it was definitely Captain America, but I really didn't. And I also liked Hulk when you talked about Scott Lang and they're testing it on him. I loved how he was just like, time travel. That's pretty great.
He was just hitting buttons. Oh my gosh, this Hulk, it was ridiculous. The taco scene, I'm telling you, in the middle of the movie, it became like a different movie. And I don't think any scene described as bad, and we haven't gotten to this character yet, even though we're in Time Heist. Fat Thor. When Professor Hulk is riding on that truck into New Asgard, was that like a different movie for a half second? Because there was the music playing. It was a whole different vibe than anything we've seen in the Avengers.
Yeah, it was a great transition because, coming from the scene that had just happened, and then it was a good transition into some of the comedy you were going to see for the next few minutes. And shout out to Corey Meek, playing Fortnite.
Corey Meek, and shout out to Noob Master 69, who was just laying down the wood with them on Fortnite. So Time Heist is underway, and Fat Thor is a part of it. He's just going nuts. So they go through the different realities, and of all the realities to stop in on, the least acclaimed Marvel movie, and I think they know this, Thor: Dark World. Thor gets his much-needed scene with his mother where she tells him, it's okay not to be perfect, yada yada, like, you're still my boy. Like, and it was great.
Yeah. Before we started recording, you said to put down, 3 to 5 of my favorite moments.
Okay.
This is one of them. I think that the Dark World is, in a lot of ways, deservedly so. It gets the most flack from all the MCU movies.
Yep.
But I just thought it was great that they were able to pay homage to it, and hey, this is a big moment. A lot of things happened that helped develop the Thor character, like the death of his mother and all that.
That was a Loki. That could have ended a movie. Like what was happening, Frigga dying, them being attacked, and everything like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had the redemption arc within the story. I mean, but yeah, I loved Dark World, the escape scene. The final battle, I didn't even mind with them going to the different worlds. I thought that was very cool. They hadn't done anything like that yet in the MCU, so I enjoyed that. But Fat Thor is along for the ride, and what happens, I mean, now I must have blanked out, but they get the Power Stone, and then they go back, and Nebula begins to malfunction.
Yeah.
In a way. So was that just that her wiring was such that when one thing knows something, it triggers something else, or was that something that the Avengers messed up? What happened there?
I think what it was there was 2 nebulae,
for sure,
in that specific time space, whatever. And I think Ma says, well, they're sharing the same network, but all the timestamps were 9 years in the future. So
yes.
I thought that was really just another thing where they're able to take some element of a character, and she's just not some bad guy who became a good guy and is now along for the ride, but that component of who she is actually worked against the team. So I thought it was great.
And speaking of fan service, I mean, not just with the heroes, people after Avengers Infinity War were saying, we wanted more Ma. I mean, he just got blown out of that spaceship, and you got exactly what you wanted in this movie. You saw him doing it. And basically, yeah, he was checking Nebula's internet history and seeing that, she was browsing in 2019, and things were amiss. So with that said, with that, we get the scariest character we've seen in the MCU. Because in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos was intimidating, but he wasn't really scary. He didn't get in your face and scare you. He wasn't ferocious. He didn't have angst. He was more just like a prophet. He's like, I have to do this. It's like what I have to do. It's my destiny. Now we have 2014 Thanos, and he's just pissed. He's pissed at everything. And they reversed the Pym particles. You're seeing young Tony Stark's dad. You're seeing young Michael Douglas. I mean, the work in Hollywood is unbelievable these days. I mean,
I love how they had the original Ant-Man helmet from the comics on Hank Pym's desk. I thought that was awesome. So many Easter eggs in this movie.
I mean, geez, there's going to be more than you can break down. with that said, we kind of move to the final act of the movie. They're at Avengers HQ. They've gotten the stone back, and Hulk snaps, and they did this perfectly because it's like you forgot it happened that he snapped because right away Thanos is here and he's raining down carnage on Avengers HQ. I mean, the fans are like you got Hulk and Co. are like buried in the thing. I mean, you're losing track of where the Avengers are. They're so like apart. Thanos comes down again, and now this was more Thanos like Infinity War. He's like, all right, like I got to defeat you. Like you failed, you're back at me again. Like inevitable. The inevitable line was Thanos' thing. And whereas he was stoic in the first movie, he was inevitable in this one. And I mean, Thanos, he did some damage with that sword. You can't deny.
Yeah, 2014 Thanos seems more powerful than 2023 Thanos.
He's got a chip on his shoulder. That's the thing.
And I think I heard one podcast explain it because he seemed like he was a tougher fighter when he came, from 2014.
That's the thing. He didn't even have the gauntlet. He was still going against Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, which he hadn't done in the first movie.
So maybe in Infinity War he was relying too much on the stones and not on his own, brute strength. I don't know. That was it was wild.
So we get the final battle. Captain America's shield's broken, but he proves worthy of Mjolnir. This had to be on your top 5 list.
That was my number one.
Number
that
one.
Was my
number one of Del Reed's top Endgame moments, brought to you by 26 Shirts. Go on there today and get the Fantastic shirt. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. 26 Shirts, Fantastic. Top of the list. Cat proves that he's worthy.
Oh, I lost my mind. I mean, I swear, I thought I heard a buzzing noise. I was so worked up, and like for 2 days later, I was like, "Oh, they actually showed him, real Mjolnir." So I thought that was great. I mean, our theater, I don't know about yours, ours was like going to a sporting event. I mean, people were cheering through the whole thing, and at that point, I don't want to say it was deafening. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it got loud at that point.
It got a little loud in my theater too. So you're seeing that, but still, Thanos still holds off Captain America with Mjolnir. Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, all down. Captain America and his classic wobbling, I could do this all day, versus Thanos and his armies, and all of a sudden, on your left. Tell him about it.
Oh, it's so great. It's like, Cap, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
So, because it's so quiet, because you look at that scene, you've got Captain America right on the left there, and you got like this light shining down on him, and it's going to be him against the entire army of Thanos.
And he's not going anywhere.
No,
he's like, I'm right here, yeah.
And even though he's fighting somebody who can destroy a vibranium shield, which was kind of weird for me to see that happen, all of a sudden you have maybe the second best part of the movie when all of a sudden Doctor Strange's portals start opening.
Yeah, he portals everyone. You're getting Valkyrie on her horse. You're getting, Pepper Potts arrested. You're getting all the females. You're getting all the Avengers. You're getting Spider-Man coming back from Titan. Doctor Strange saying, is that all of them? You wanted more? A little testament to how many Avengers there are and the fact that X-Men and Fantastic Four are still off in their own universe. Fans were talking about them showing up, as well as a couple of potential other characters we'll get to as we wind down here. But it was an amazing movie. I mean, you get that. They defeat Thanos. Not a lot of people saw this coming, though. Yeah, you lost Natasha Romanoff on what's the name of the planet again where you have to make that sacrifice? Boromir. And you lose in this battle, Tony Stark. I mean, LaShawn McCoy let everybody know the first Friday. Thank goodness we saw it before that. But, it's fitting. It was tight. I think the whole time you thought Captain America was going to be the one to go, especially in Infinity War when you see him hand-to-hand with Thanos.
We talked about that last time we did one of these.
We were predicting. We were locking in who we were thinking was going to die. We thought Captain America was for sure going to go, because then we thought, Bucky was going to take over.
Right, for sure. And I thought that Captain America was going to sacrifice himself. Tony was going to get to ride off into the sunset with her family. And then the movie starts, and he's already ridden off into the sunset.
They gave you his happy ending in the beginning. You realize that. That's how perfect the movie is. It lets you see what he would have had as a nice living. The vibe with his daughter was just unbelievable. I love you 3000. Are you kidding me? I'm tearing up right now.
It was so great. It was just, it served every, and I've said this 10 times at this point, every character was so well served. And they threw curveballs that we couldn't predict, and they just nailed it so perfectly, and they did it better than we could have done.
And speaking of nailing it perfectly, I agree with everyone. The only real controversial one there was, we were talking about just now, Captain America. He goes back to put the Infinity Stones where they're supposed to be to kind of right the timelines, but doesn't return. Stays in the past with his girl, gets that dance, And then the more controversial part of it, even more controversial than that decision, to then name, Sam, the new Captain America. I think it was a great decision because I think that Bucky can stand on his own as a character, whereas I think, Falcon would have kind of fell to the foreground. I wouldn't have felt like Falcon was too important, but now that he's Captain America, I'm a little bit more invested.
Falcon's a real sidekick character, in my opinion. And in the comics, both have,
They've both done it. That's the thing. A lot of people didn't know that Falcon had done Captain America. They were like appalled, but he gives them the nod. The nod was thrown in there for all the people who were upset about it to make it right. So we digest this film. I mean, any other thoughts? Like any other scenes that you didn't get to mention that you left? I think you got down your favorites.
Yeah, I mean the end battle. As I was writing my list, I noticed they were all coming from the end battle.
But the final act was insane.
It was insane. I loved. It was almost like 2 or 3 different movies, all packed into one movie, but done so well. I mean, you could have done a whole movie just about going back to the old movies, like they did when they were going back in time. That could have been the whole movie.
We can
talk. Just a piece of it.
We can talk for 10 minutes about how Hope Van Dyne chastised Scott in Ant-Man and the Wasp for calling Captain America Cap.
Yep.
And then when they're in the battle and Captain America gives an order, "We're on it, Cap." She's making a play.
So many nods.
So with that said, Del Reed has so many responsibilities. 2-minute warning. We'll give a little bit more than 2 minutes. It's a train wreck 2 minutes. The MCU from here. What do you want to see in the future? Because obviously we've got things very well queued up. The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer dropped yesterday. Fans are pumped. You're telling me a lot of things about Mysterio I didn't know. They're still on the docket. Adam Warlock, Doctor Doom, and Galactus. A lot of names that people don't know, but with that said, I think it's fair to say that 10 years ago, not everybody knew who Thanos was.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would say out of those you just named, I think Thanos is probably number 4 in terms of.
A lot of people were thinking that Warlock was going to come in and pwn Thanos.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they work Warlock in because they kind of teased him at the end of the last Guardians movie. So,
oh yeah, he was big time. They called him Adam, and that wasn't the traditional way he was created, but that has to be the character they're referring to, right?
Yeah, so next steps, though, I mean, the trailer that dropped yesterday, they've already talked about the whole idea of a multiverse. We'll see how that plays out. Is that something that actually they're going to pursue, or is it a curveball they're throwing us, and maybe Mysterio is fooling everybody and he's not from another Earth? I mean, we'll see what happens. But if there is a multiverse, it makes it very easy for them to introduce characters like X-Men and Fantastic Four, because one of the questions you have is like, well, where have they been in this whole time? So maybe they've been on Earth, just not our Earth.
There's going to be all kinds of things, and if Marvel does it like they've done everything else, they'll write it in perfectly where it makes sense.
Always do.
Del, thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in for this Avengers Endgame recap, sponsored by 26 Shirts. Go on 26shirts.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Get fantastic today. Thank you, and you know that when it comes to Trainwreck Sports, it's all about 3 words. On your left, whatever it takes.